If you're training for your next cycling event, Join Cycling has training plans specifically for all the big Grand Fondos and events around the world. You can get 30 days free trial going through the link down below. Paris-Roubaix, the men's race. We had a bit of rain overnight. We had some images circling around social media of very wet cobblestone sections, but fortunately they dried up throughout the race. The ground needed a bit of rain. I sound very Australian saying that actually. But anyway, breakaway fight this year didn't go on for that long. It's gone on for 100 Ks plus in previous years. It goes easy this time. Jonas Ruch, Max Walker, De Boist, Townsend, Stockman, Marcus Hulgaard, Hajduk for Ineos Grenadiers. Now, Jonas Ruch, he's come top 15 in Roubaix before. If you get in the break, it's the place to be, especially if it goes this early. And that's what Visma and UAE wanted, because they were jumping with Wellens and Perstrand as they clearly wanted to be in. Albelson, De Koenig, it was time for Sylvain Dillier to do his job and control. And before we knew it, the break had 3 minutes, a good gap going into the first cobble sector. But Jasper Stuyven, in the big fight before the cobble sector with some mud on the roads, he crashes Trek's second leader, and he's been having a very good classic season. Jasper Philipsen slides out on a muddy corner. Alperson's second leader. So big riders crashing before we hit even the first cobblestone sector, where Ineos, they've done everything right. They've gone in the breakaway. They're entering the first cobble sector in perfect position as a team. 4 riders, Gunner protected. He has a mech. He has mechanical straight away in the sector. You can see him looking down. Edward Plancart comes to the front. He's been very good this classic season. Wout van Aert was in bad position going into that. He'd crashed beforehand. Then he comes back, but he's always sort of having to yo-yo back through the group because little Treks start to smash it. They start to ride as a team with Ganna on a minute behind, led by Joshua Tarling in that group. Now, Albelson, De Koenig, when they take over control, they don't ride as hard. They want Philipsen back. They also don't have the numbers of last year, and so Albelson kind of take it easy, and they're happy for that group to come back. It nearly does. And then Pollard anticipates. UAE want Pollard, Vermeersch, Morgado, if you could, up the road. Pedersen, Marks, Niels Pollard. And finally, those groups do come back about 20 Ks before Arenberg. And you got Oscar Reisebeke back for Albelson, De Koenig, as well as Jasper Philipsen, the foil for Van der Poel. So for the breakaway, they have to get through Truade Arenberg ahead of the GC, not the GC group, the main peloton. They have to. That's their way to actually get a top 10 or influence the final of this race. And Pedersen goes. On Waller he goes. Then Pogacar counters. Van der Poel says, if you two are going, I'm going to go too. And he creates a group of 20. There's anticipations from it. Van Aert's made it with his teammate Mathieu Brennan, 2 FDJ there, Clement Rousseau and Stefan Kung. I think Ivan Garcia Cortina, Bissiger, Mike Turnison, Fedorov even for XDS Astana, and a good move from Vermeersch. Vacek goes in. They're trying to work over Alpecin, but in the end, all the main favourites come into Arenberg together. I think they'd just been caught by the group, so it looked like a bigger group than it really was. And Pogacar, of course, it's the hardest section of the race. He goes, Pedersen on the wheel, Van der Poel counters, and Wout van Aert drops the wheel. Brennan had to close the gap for him, and then they just catch the back half of the breakaway. Van der Poel uses that and the motorbikes to create separation and drops bombs. Van der Poel just starts dropping nukes after the Arenberg on the tarmac section. Brennan's chasing back. Pogacar's on the radio checking where Vermeersch is. Pedersen sees his teammate Vacek coming back, so he knows he has to get ahead of him rather than play the card of having a teammate. You don't want to do that like in Flanders or E3. And you see actually Vermeersch there coming back for Pogacar. So it's looking okay for everybody. I say except Visma Lease bike, who don't have Wout van Aert there. Philipsen was just coming back. Van der Poel drops another hammer blow, and you see here Vacek and Johnny Vermeersch with this group, including Fedorov, just about 5 seconds back. They look like they're about to come back on, because why would the breakaway guys pace? Pedersen goes again. Kung had just about made it over with Fedorov, and Pedersen goes on this short section, stringing it out. And if you weren't in position here, it was race over. Van der Poel drops another bomber. You see Pogacar look at Pedersen. Oh, will you close it? He doesn't. And Pogacar was really suffering here. Philipsen's tucked into the wheel of Bissiger. They drop the wheel behind. Brennan tries to sprint across, but it's in vain. And you see Pogacar flicks through. He doesn't actually pull through. He's looking for someone else to pull. He's a little bit cooked. And he was trying to get Bissiger to close the gap. I don't think this was for the cameras, because it makes no sense to try and get Bissiger to close the gap. He's stretching, he's calling for the car to come up. The car does come up. It gives him, I think, pickle juice to help with the cramps. He nearly crashes, car nearly crashes him, bit of stress, and then he settles down. This group, out of the race, forget about him, never coming back. We know that from previous Roubaix. And then Pogacar goes on Tillois, Essars, Rosiers, always a tough one. Pedersen over Egan, responding, flats on his front wheel, and Van der Poel's like, what's going on? I was trying to have a little nap. What are you doing, Pogacar? Why are you attacking me? I thought we were all going to ride together. And so Van der Poel says, I got the Philipsen card. Bissiger got dropped. He went to the group behind. And so Van der Poel, this is for the first time, he says, yeah, I'll let Philipsen come back. But they don't anticipate with Philipsen. It was kind of strange, because it reminded me a bit of the Kopecky-Weber situation, because Philipsen there, he's a sitting duck. Pogacar knows any time he wants, he can drop Philipsen. In fact, Van der Poel had already put Philipsen on the limit, and so you may as well have had Philipsen ride all out or anticipate, because then you can only win if you're stronger than Pogacar, although that was looking pretty good for Van der Poel, because he talks to the radios, the team car says, can I pull Philipsen's in Narnia, he ain't coming back. We got to stay ahead of Pedersen and Van Aert, and indeed, Van der Poel starts to pull, so it's going to be the big battle of the Titans. Pogacar throws in another bomber. Is Van der Poel under pressure, but he comes into this corner way too hot with the cross tailwind and crashes. Looked like he nearly held it up. It was like his Spandell crash in the Tour 2022, where it's like, he's going to hold it up, and then just crashes. Chain gets caught, has to change bike. Luckily, the team car was just there. Is Van der Poel going to wait? No, it was Pogacar's fault he crashed. And also, Van der Poel now is in obviously a very good position. He doesn't have to ride all out. Pogacar gets it to 12 seconds, and then Van der Poel, when the gap hadn't shut in about 5 minutes, rips this gap open. He doesn't know the time gap, though, so he's taking huge risks in Carrefour de l'Arbre. He's going in and out of the cobbles into the spectators, risking a flat tyre, even though the gap's at a minute to Pogacar on the last 5-star sector, and indeed he does flat. Luckily for him, the gap was a minute. Team car right there, although the radio wasn't working, changes bike, and I think barely loses any time to Pogacar, who was fading badly. So, yeah, a big shame that the race basically opened in Arenberg, and then we were promised the Battle of the Titans. I think Van der Poel drops the hammer on Carrefour de l'Arbre anyway, but he wins his third. Paris-Roubaix, Pogacar, a magic second place. Pedersen, third place. It's always the toughest race to put into a short resume. But Van der Poel wins solo again. 118 ahead of Tadej Pogacar, 211 ahead of Pedersen, Van Aert, Vermeersch, Jonas Rutger, well-deserved 6th, then Bissiger, Hulgaard, Frederik, Lorenz Rex. Very similar addition to previous years, actually. Basically, you make it after Arenberg, you're good. If you don't, your race is over. That's how it plays out pretty much. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.